brilliant form. Klaus, a star in the making. His star continues to shine brightly, but whose star is going to shine the brightest here in the first of our semi-finals here? Welcome to the English language stream here for the RLCS Sam Winter Cup, W7M in the blue and Crew in the orange.
And hopefully we do get to see a little bit of that magic from W7M early on. Immediately, they do have a little bit of space to work their way downfield as Brad is up in the air quickly there. And W7M, I think one thing that needs to be said about this team is that rather similarly to Team Secret, I think they aren't a team that is particularly flashy in how they play. They are so solid in terms of their rotations, their positioning. They just know how to flow around each other, and it's a magical thing to see.
Couldn't agree more, but W7M, they're going to be ones who get us kicked off here. Royales with the opening score. I was actually going to talk about them being quite a solid central-based unit. We see, who was it? It was Snip picking up the third most saves across the entirety of the closed qualifier section and group stage and playoffs. But you don't win championships on defense, Psycho. You win them on goals, and that's a great start for the team that is quite rightly considered the underdogs here.
It absolutely is, and that one was almost a chance for Drafinio as he touched that one central, but unfortunately it was blocked away at that front post as Drops is going to hit this one high. Misty now, he's very dangerous when he does get the ball. He's one of the most aggressive players on this W7M squad and probably the one you expect to do the most damage.
Certainly a lot of wishy-washiness here from W7M as they go for chaos theory. Crew not able to get their reads in order just yet. Brad forced backwards, Drafinio up. The challenge neutral, but continuing forward via Drops. 1.0 assists per games, top of the charts. A great creator, this Crew squad, as you rightly said, Psycho. Wonderfully able to enable each other, even from what seems like nothing, but really nothing has been created as of yet in front of this net. This is the first real opportunity, but even then, Snip in place to snuff him out.
Wisty, if he does get beaten on this chance, Drops could just fire this one down, but Royales just patiently waiting by that front post has managed to get the job done, and Crew just had no spark to put that shot away.
Nice win in midfield here once again for Crew, but stopped. Ooh, a bit of a loose touch, and Royales has to clean up. Drafinio around the corner, and Snip over the top of Drops. Royales with a strafing run, not able to find any bodies as of yet. Snip picks up the play again, zero boost, not the Crew are able to know that. Wisty steps in, nice communication here, looking for Royales, up he goes, a little bit sideways, Crew back in place, infield passing, Drops all on his own, 1v1, look for the musty flick, Snip's too strong, oh it's a soft touch, it hits woodwork, and finally put away by Brad, 1-1.
And I was so sure that W7M had just clawed that one away from their net, but Snip on that front post, he could only just tip it central. The tantalisingly small touch. Couldn't get that delivery over to the corner, and Crew with an equaliser there.
Too much panic there as Royales with the team bump as well. Wisty looking to put that to bed. No, it's not going to be 2-1 just yet. Of course, we do need that all-important winning goal. If both these two sides end regulation time tied, it's over to overtime. Snip again doesn't really reach that second touch that he was hoping for. Drafinio, 100 boost, but there's Wisty, too quick for him. Brad looking for Drafinio, some route one stuff. Lovely help on there once again. Going far post, but once again, not finding that goal.
Not that time, and W7M quick for the counter as well. They already had one player just downfield to receive that clearance forwards, which is telling if their shapers. Another touch central is found by Royales. It's tipped up to Wisty, but no shot found as the ball's cleared back the other way.
Interesting to see here that W7M haven't exactly wilted under the pressure. They've actually weathered it quite well, but for that one mistake, but for that moment of uncertainty in defense, we'd still be talking about 1-0. Really well controlled in general, Psycho. 90 seconds left, lovely shot. Second shot across the bow. They continue to threaten Crew. Look for the doomsday, and Wisty's gonna get it. There's that 2-1.
Beautiful from Wisty. As just in the corner, he forces those defenders all out of shape, and Crew just diving, lunging to see that ball clear, but Wisty wrapped around that ball central. Done well to get an advantage for his side there.
Crew have not dropped a game. They've not dropped a single game, folks, in the group stage or the playoffs. W7M have at least dropped one. it's not just about the clean sheet, it's about keeping that momentum going, and we could see a break on the freight train that is Crew Esports if they aren't able to rectify the situation within the next 70 seconds. W7M meeting them punch for punch here in the midfield. Past the midfield line they go, but not for too much longer. Drafinho looking for Brad, cut out the passing lane. Lovely awareness from Royales. Drafinho, it just feels a little bit helpless, a little bit aimless for me, Psycho. 60 seconds left and it's just falls into the center. They're hoping, but they might be looking for a bit more here. W7M is over the top and drops. Oh, glances across the goal mouth.
It was close. It was a close call, and W7M, that would have been the nail in the coffin to give Crew their first loss in this Winter Cup. And W7M, this is a fantastic initial performance to keep that sort of momentum that they really did find in the Winter Open. This is a team that's only existed for that span of time. They didn't play in the fall as a team, as that one's going to rattle the crossbar just about wide of its mark, and Crew still struggling to equalise.
Oh, that shot was not as powerful as Sniff was hoping for. Did really well just to hang at the top of the goal and find the read. They ratchet up the pressure and drops with some power at last. It's 13. It's unlucky for some.
And for all of that aimlessness, they have found a connection, and drops crucially in the midfield there. As you said, just dropped it down there. W7M, they thought maybe it would have been easy going after that second goal. They looked to be the side in control. They had so much domination of the field and almost found a third, as that one's infield. Maybe a last-ditch effort from W7M. A shot is blocked away though, and Royales just can't get past that last defender.
W7M, they had a real chance there, didn't they? Overtime. I think actually well-deserved on the whole of things. I think W7M certainly batting above their weight as things stand. Crew with a lot more individual quality, hence why they've been able to keep this as close as it was. W7M simply have to create more chances to find that goal. They might have found an own goal. Almost calamity there from Drops, who bikes away. And would you believe it? Royales with a miss. I think he was just a little too far away. It's heartbreak for W7M. Crew steal the win.
And how could you blame him? Poor Royales at the back. 1 minute he thought the chance was there, the space was given, and there was a shot which would have given W7M that first win, and it was almost off that near own goal chance, but Crew on the counter. It's going to be heartbreaking for W7M, but Crew, they've done well to get back into this game.
Yes, absolute nightmare fuel for W7M. Went ahead, not once, but twice, unable to finish things off. And again, we're asking questions. Do they have the quality in the squad to step up to that final podium and count themselves amongst the best in the region? Well, they are here. Second consecutive top 4 appearance, but once again going up against a team that we would consider traditional top 4. They are struggling, and Crew, you're right, they were on the back foot for a lot of that game, for the majority of that game, but the breakaway chances, every one of them they had, they punished it. It's exactly what teams that are under the cosh they're expected to do at this level, and Crew, as much as we can call it a steal, like you said, it's deserved because ultimately they scored the most goals.
Yeah, absolutely, and ultimately the more solid side in that game one. As much as it might be painful for W7M to realise, there were a couple goals that were just let slip, especially that counter-attack, which ended it all for them. Unfortunately, W7M, I don't think they're going to need to go back to the drawing board. I think the strategy and their sort of approach in that game one was perfect for what they wanted, but can they get themselves across the finish line in game two?
Yes. You've got to be 7 out of 10 at least on every part of the field, and sadly for W7M it was their defense that let them down all 3 times. Crew offered opportunities, chances that weren't really their own making. Wisty finding a way through the melee, but sadly no one there to support him. Royales, that loose ball is going to become loose again, actually, as this is a very estranged back pass. It's worked out quite nicely, except Drafinho cuts out that particular shooting opportunity, and now it's back to square one for W7M.
Oh my goodness.
Away. Oh, what a reaction.
Ooh.
That's going far post, and once again, W7M architects of their own downfall.
That is the most filthy dunk I've ever seen from Drafinho, who must have been up maybe a solid year ahead of that touch from the defender. I have absolutely no idea how the defender was expected to do anything about that play.
I don't know, go for a shorter touch or have some form of communication from teammates. Yeah, as you say, it's difficult, but you know what's even more difficult is shooting on an open net. Wisty actually does that quite well, doesn't he? strange to see how this one opened up, but Whiskey putting in the legwork, bumping away Jaffinho, a complete whiff there from Brad, and before you know it, tie game.
Yeah, it's a bit unexpected, but W7M are straight back into the thick of things, as they do find that equaliser crucially early on as well, and Crew, maybe a tiny little lapse there, but a great 50 from Snip to tee up his side there. It's very early on in this game we are. Still a lot left of the tale to be told.
Royales, no bump. Drops goes sideways. Well found here, Jaffinho. Waits and lures out Snip. He gets a piece of it. Drops. Oh, it almost lives up to the name. Ooh, teetering. The shot comes in, and W7M, how many times do you need to be told?
And that was actually a double commit there as well. Drops and Snips just... Oh, unfortunate. I think it was actually Royales who joined in on that double push at the front post. Unfortunately, the space was offered once again for Crew. Very similar to what we've seen maybe 2 times before so far. I think W7M are just struggling in terms of keeping that shape when the shots come flying through.
It just feels like you're giving an esteemed athlete the task of trying to run a marathon, but in roller skates. Guess what? It's their first time in roller skates. They're slipping and sliding. They might be able to get some momentum at certain moments, but they're not an experienced player in this particular field. They run, they don't skate, and W7M, they continue to skate downwards whenever Crew stride forwards. Look at them again, winning in the midfield here, Crew, continuing to exude some sort of pressure, continuing to look better and better, and it does raise the question, Psycho, have W7M shown their cards a little too early? Crew growing in confidence now.
Absolutely so, and W7M though, I think something very positive is they're still finding these connections to break out of defence, and an infield pass was opted for there. This one might just roll all the way in if it wasn't for 2 sets of posts, one on either side. Unfortunately for Crew, that wasn't a third. W7M, lucky it wasn't.
How many chances do you want to give them, W7M? If you're going to outscore your opponents, you simply have to create more and ultimately put the ball in the back of the net. We haven't seen the consistent quality to suggest that this is a team that is able to do that, that is able to fight fire with fire. They've got to find some sort of defensive solace, and again, maybe that's one of those moments where they can puff up their shoulders and say, okay, there's a good stop, but the fact remains, still 1 goal behind.
Absolutely, and how long can W7M just sort of sit there at the back and just smile and wave as the double commits keep flying themselves through? W7M, they need a push the other direction, but Beautiful. This one might find the back of the net as well from Jaffinho, just lurking in the midfield, giving no space for W7M to make that push.
I see Snip, I see Royales, and I see the smoking remains of Wisty caught in a line, a collateral faux pas, you could call it, for W7M, as once again that rotation kind of falls to mush. We wanted a roast, not a mashed potato. W7M looking like a couple of spuds, unfortunately, on their own defensive line a little too often now. Double demo here for drops, but with no support, it's not going to get much further. Jaffinho, it's a shot just for shot's sake, but Crew continuing to get better and better. W7M arguably looking worse as the minutes go by.
Absolutely, but maybe a chance here for Wisty, but no connection made on that shooting chance. That one's tipped down to the middle. A nice shot as well from Crew on the response, and you can see just how much control Crew are establishing in the play here. Just as soon as Royales tries to create something, it's that player again.
They've not just left the door unlocked to their home, they've also left a couple of the windows open, inviting Crew in to take as many shots. At this point, Psycho, it feels like any shot that's thrown towards the net from the midfield line, as long as it's on target, it is going to be converted. W7M parting of the waves, parting potentially the mentals as well. Have their heads gone? Is it time for them to settle down and potentially just try and wrestle back some semblance of control? A reminder that because this is a best of 7, tactical timeouts, they are on the table, and I feel that if W7M continue to concede like this at this rate, Psycho, might be worth taking it now rather than later.
I really think so as well, and I think it's just a question of how do you get out of your own back line safely at the moment, because Crew, like you said, they're looking better every single second as this match goes on, just in terms of their possession And their positioning on the field, they are ever present everywhere on the pitch that W7M want to go. And oh my goodness, drops. Where did that one come from? I'm not sure the W7M defenders actually know themselves, and myself as well. That is a gorgeous finish.
I think let's get the protractor out. Looks like a 10-degree angle. That is the highest quality goal that we have seen from the Gluttony that we've been treated to so far. That is a fifth. That is another spear into the heart of W7M. What started this series to be looking like a real exciting adventure for W7M is quickly turning into natural one after natural one, fending off shot after shot. Their rotation, similar. My goodness me, Crew looking like their group stage form. W7M cracking under the pressure. 2 more games for Crew to find themselves safely in the grand finals. W7M back to the drawing board for you.
Absolutely, and I think after that game 1, I wasn't particularly worried for this W7M side. I think after that second game, I'm beginning to get a little bit terrified. Crew just absolutely slaughtering that game 2. So much pitch domination, and as we saw earlier, those midfield lurks proving so important from them. And W7M, their strategy going forward is maybe going to need to be rechanged and reshaped entirely.
I don't want to call myself a prophet psycho, but just saying, W7M time out. No surprises there. I couldn't agree with you more. They looked so competitive in that game number 1. I use the word heartbreak very deliberately because they were on top for the majority of that game number 1. Sadly, again, that defense letting them down, but it's one thing to have a defense that lets you down, but they just ran out of goals down the other side of the pitch. Again, how many of those goal opportunities from Crew were created with some sort of RLCS caliber of quality? One, maybe that individual drops goal. That's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head. And so where do W7M go now? Is it, look, let's just try and stop the goals from going in? Or is it, how do we, again, look, try and fight fire with fire, get them on the back foot? It feels like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think in terms of their reflection on this series so far, they might be thinking that they need to just pick the pace up, as that's a very natural instinct to what's unfolded so far. If you feel that you're just getting beaten out on areas of the field, why not just send the ball longer a bit quicker, or that sort of mentality? But I think what's crucially important is they start to realise Crew's sort of structure on the field, where they're making these crucial interceptions. Maybe slow things down even a touch, trying to beat those players on the ground instead of through the skies. Maybe keep those clearances really tucked towards their own players and go from there. But it's a very, very hard question to really unpack for them.
Crucial questions, crucial answers. How many wins in a row are Crew going to accrue? Well, the tactical timeout has been served. The bad jokes and puns are never ending, however. Into game number 3. Another 5 minutes on the clock. It's a clean slate for W7M. It's an early venture forward for W7M off the kickoff. Wisty finds the backboard. There's the support. Royale is in the wrong place to get that third strike away. And by this point, Crew, 2 players back, is going to hit the backboard again. They're going for the keeper, but well defended. And they're well away now, Crew Esports. Once again, that defense all over the place. It's like a kid not even knowing how to tie his own shoelaces. Crew, first shot on target, first goal of game 3.
And tripping up on the back lines, as you say, once again. 2 of those W7M players sneaking forwards to get that ball cleared very nice and quickly. Unfortunately, immediately punished. Crew just making the most of every opportunity they get.
Potentially number 2, Sniff will get there ahead of Brad. Drops, who certainly has been on form. Oh, hello, Demo in the midfield. Wisty, that is lovely. Look at this. It's not so much a fake as once again demonstrating the patience that we've come to know and love from him. Watch him, look. They're expecting the earlier shot there, Drops. He's been excellent, as I was just about to say there. But that's an even better, patiently weighted shot from Wisty. Ties things up. Now W7M don't concede straight off the kickoff.
Yep, we're hoping for their sake that nothing goes too awry early on after this kickoff. That's a lovely demo from Royales as he tries to touch that one back, but intercepted by Crew. Drops with the flick, top 90, but it's blocked away at the dying moments as this one is just off the crossbar once again. W7M with a pivotal save there, but how long can they keep this going?
It just feels like they are out of control. They are relying fully on RNG as opposed to having any sort of escape plan, which you never want to be a team without an escape plan in Rocket League. We talk about strong clearances. We look for those passing lanes out if you want to go for a little bit more of a possession style. W7M, it's pray and hope that the esports gods are listening at this stage.
Yeah, and sometimes that's enough to get maybe 1 or 2 games on the board, especially near the dying stages. And speaking of the dying stages, W7M might be presented with such a scenario as at the back once again. Wisty, he tries to see it to freedom, but drops. He's there again.
I mean, is it an unforced mistake? Crew were on the hunt. There were 2 of them in close pursuit, but you've simply got to do better than that. If you're going to throw it away to the side, at least do it with a little bit more oomph than what was just a trickling pass to the enemy team. Oh, this is a bit of a misplay here from Drops, but sadly Royales doesn't get a shot away. Neutral 50. There's Wisty going for the top. Beans ain't able to find it. 3 minutes left. Royales going near post. Oh my goodness, how is it not?
Oh! What have I just watched? Can you help me out here, Relic? Because I'm struggling to find words.
Well, you know, it's not how they're scored, Psycho. As long as they are scored, and W7M might, based on the video footage that we've just witnessed, not so much praying to the esports gods, but looking to sign a deal with the devil. But the devil don't wear Prada. Drafinio strutting with a 3rd.
And that's such a cheeky touch from Brad as well, to lift the ball high over that last defender, the opposite of what would have been expected. I think the low touch was being opted for there, but it just prodded itself into the air, and Crew are up again. What can you do if you're W7M, if your reliance is on those esports gods that we talked about earlier? That goal earlier may have been related to such an event, but once again is seeming more unlikely. Snip is going to get a flick off, and that's beautiful. It's under the crossbar, and it equalises.
Out with the flamethrowers and in with the incendiaries. Look at this, what a musty flick. Bar down ski. We were asking if they were going to turtle up or if they were going to fight fire with fire. Well, this is turning into an explosive game number 3. W7M, doesn't matter how many times they can shoot themselves in the foot, they've still got arms available and ready, reloading the weaponry at will, and hopefully, certainly for their sake, they've got enough in the clip left to find a 4th.
I'm sure they have plenty of ammunition, but it's just about trying to live when Crew are coming hunting. Over their back lines, Brad's going to fire this one over to the wall. Maybe look for a double touch as this one's dropped down. A clearance from W7M just to breathe a little bit more space into the life of their side, as that one's on target, but blocked away relatively comfortable.
Nice.
Back infield, another touch across goal, but once again, it wasn't quite enough.
Better from W7M though. Now they've got to get back. Oh, another loose touch from Royales. Snips alert enough to it. Falls kindly for Wisty. Oh, getting it around Drops. Staying to the western side of their field. Giving it away in the process, however. Now to the eastern side. Snips completely removed before he hits the ball. Royales steps in. Up he goes. Look at the shot. Oh. Gets the shot away, and boy, does he put it home. Nay, 4-3.
That is gorgeous from Royales, and sadly for Crew, they weren't able to make that block. It was such a slim angle, but Royales, he had that hunt in him, and he did find the back of the net, all importantly. 1 minute 30 and just a little more seconds left on the clock. It's going to be difficult to hold, that's for sure.
They are so refreshing to see the never say die attitude from W7M back in full force. Crew have been high quality, but they have been offered chances on a plate. W7M not feeling so charitable anymore. Sideways and well shepherded here. from W7M, looking to break out now once again with a counter-attack. They're surely not going to be happy sitting on a 1-goal lead, given that they lost a 1-goal lead in game number 1 with 13 seconds to go. We all know how that one ended. Wisty, Royales, lovely underneath one. Brad with a touch. Snips looking for the shot, bumps in net. Royales able to find one, not able to find two. Wisty looking to crank up the pressure once again, but Crew survive. Here they come.
Yeah, and it's a nice interception from Snip to keep this going. Maybe a shot as well, but front post rotation from Crew is looking sharp at the moment, and the counter potentially on the cards as well as they find this ball into space. Drafinio, the nice touch central, that's over to the backboard, and Wisty to see this one clear once again.
Drops, living up to his name. Oh, living up to his name and then some. High quality airdrop service, delivery straight into the hands of Brad.
What more can you say? That is class from Crew, and W7M have to do it all over again. They need to find an opportunity from seemingly out of thin air, because that's what's been done, I think, maybe on 2 occasions so far this game, but you can see that W7M simply do not give up when the going gets tough.
Lick the stamp and send it. That's the subtitle of this game. It's the subtitle of that goal. 15 seconds left. The ball deep in blue territory. Royals can only spike it up. Going far post, a little too far wide for Drops' sake. The ball will ultimately end with the blue team, but they go for a hard clearance. No one ready to receive. And now Crew given the opportunity to strike once the iron's hot, falls to the ground. Second overtime in this series.
Crucial couple of minutes. This might be an OT for W7M if they can survive that long, and getting that all-important first win on the boards is going to be crucial. And that's a crucial save as well from Wisty. A big clearance forwards. Wisty with a shooting chance. Almost buries it. If it wasn't for some lightning reactions from the defender there, Crew still in the game. Two opportunities that have not resulted in the winner, the golden goal. Drafinio not with the golden touch there. It's a simple hit onto the backboard. W7M break away after clustering up. That said, again, wasteful with the possession. Hard clearance, Route 1 Rocket League is not working against Crew. You need a little bit more time on the ball. You need to stretch this orange side out of a very handy comfort zone as things stand. Once again, return to sender, spending so much time in the blue half. Again, a hard clearance, again straight into the hands of this orange team. Wisty missing the ball up against the backboard. They survive another minute. Oh, and Snip. I thought he may have had the beat on Drafinio there, but just about. Touch was made by this orange defense as Brad is going to be knocked and tumbled by that aggressive bump coming forwards. W7M really just trying to find any avenue of attack at the moment with these extra little added disruptions, but Crew on the counter once again, cool as a cucumber. Drafinio wraps in, but that one's crucially wide. A shot towards the top left. Oh my goodness. W7M, they still have hope as they really just lunge themselves forwards now.
2.24 saves per game, but all you need is a goal down the other end, and Wisty! Oh, I'm getting misty-eyed over here. What a sensational game! W7M back on the board!
Oh my goodness. W7M, they somehow always have a response in their back pocket that they can just turn to at any dying stage in the game. And somehow, they didn't just come back once, they came back well, just a handful of times, really, when there was an equal scorecards. And honestly, Crew looks the stronger side to me in that game as well, Relic, and I think that's just telling how much confidence they have in this series.
I'm not exactly the specifics of what their logo is meant to represent. W7M looks a bit like an iron bison, but they took this game by the horns. It was a real matadore performance. Didn't matter how many times the red sheet was thrown, W7M found a way to come back, and again, sometimes, like with that goal, little bit of luck required, sure, but fortune favors the bold. W7M with a bold game plan in the end, deciding, look, if we're going to concede all these goals, let's just at least play free, and unshackled is certainly the adjective that I would like to give to these guys after what was a thrilling performance.
I think it's a perfect way to describe it, honestly, and just thinking about how W7M might have switched up their approach, I was beginning to think, maybe they can offer a slower style of play, but I think they just sent the ball even longer in that previous game. They just completely thwarted the back of Crew. as they move forward to this game number 4. Are Crew going to crucially make that small adaptation which might be required after that response from W7M?
Oh, Brad, smooth, sultry, setting it up, but not able to hit it home there. Drafinio still lurking around in the blue half, but away we go. Oh, no, we don't. We're not going on vacation. In fact, we're going to have a demo on the backboard as well. Crew, obviously not happy with what has just transpired there in game number 3. They were sitting pretty. They were very happy with their day's work, but now they have a proper challenge on their plate. For the moment, that's not going to be an open net. Wisty, the saviour really, throwing it long, throwing it clear, almost finding a double touch as well. Crew, it's a very different looking battlefield now.
Maybe so early on, as Wisty takes this one high. Plenty of boost in the tank as well. No options to drop down to, as Snip is just going to sort of lunge forwards and hope the ball falls into his hands, but it's not going to be enough, as on the counter is Crew once again, but that's a fortunate 50 straight back the opposite direction.
Not threatening Crew. They do have to start from square one all over again. Drops, that's neutral. A miss, and another neutral. Stuck to this midfield line. Royale spikes it down. Bit wasteful for my liking, especially when it's straight into the attack for Crew. Looking for that early goal and steamrollering through. Brad goes toot.
Brad is an absolute bulldozer, and unfortunately for Wisty, as much as they've been the saviour many times in this series, there was no saving that chance from Crew. Just barreling forwards was Brad, and that was that really.
So a bit of an early setback then here for W7M. And Snip to start all over again, but we're seeing those loose passes. We're seeing not necessarily a lack of communication, but a lack of quality. That a little bit better, forcing the save out from Drafinio. Staying in net, however, he's one player at all times. Crew have got that lead, and really going back to that earlier point that you were making, Psycho, about maybe they should, sit a little bit tighter and not worry so much about going for so many goals. Well, the only team in this region that's really found much success with that style are Team Secret. They are the exception to the rule here in SAM. It's all about the explosiveness, it's all about the excitement, and it's all about the overcommitments as it stands. W7M getting back just in time, still having to retreat, however. Drops continues it forward. There's Wisty to throw it to the side.
They're going to have to be careful about not making similar mistakes to what's already ensued so far earlier on in this series in terms of those third man extensions, trying to look for that response. They managed to do it many a time in that previous game as Royales down this left-hand side of the field. Drafinio is going to tee himself up for a high touch as Snip wraps back around. A nice touch high, but it's really not going to do much to find a teammate as he gets whacked out the skies for his troubles.
Ooh, Wisty didn't know much about that, but he's going to be glad that he did inevitably make the action that saved W7M from going 2-0 down. Oh, that's a huge miss! Unfortunate, a demo now. Wisty fresh off the back of saving the game potentially into the attack. Oh, missing the demo on drops. Would have been an excellently timed one had Snip found his man. Gone sideways again. 2 minutes left. A little slight touch. Royale trying to stall. He not only tricked himself out, Psycho, he also tricked out his own defense, and there is a second.
He tried something clever, did Royales. But Crew, they had his number. And they understood exactly what the game plan was. Just stick in the infield, intercept everything you can, and they came hunting quickly once again, Crew. But crucially for them, pushing that lead more than a single goal further.
Ring and Crew demonstrating the experience and the exciting plays that we witnessed in game number 2. Nowhere near as much of a runaway. Oh, but moments like that, for example, you've got to be more alert. You've got to be a little more proactive rather than reactive, W7M. I realize that's been your purview, but you can't just move down the field with 0 boost and then have a teammate, the Shadow Striker, end up missing on it. It's almost like they're passing it in favor of Crew. W7M, free shot for Drafinio, 2 in net. That was always going to be saved, barring a real faux pas. Brad, it's a neutral, it's stuck against the wall, but the more time that's burned off the clock, Psycho, the less time W7M are going to have to score these 2 goals that they need just to take it to overtime.
It's such a difficult affair as they're going to be stuck in the corner once again. If that...
Lovely.
Oh, I thought they were going to be stuck in the corner. That didn't happen. There is a follow-through, and it was by the name of the striker Drops, and he's found the space on the right-hand side of the net, and W7M, I think it's going to be extremely tough to see their way back in now.
They weren't stuck in the corner, but he most certainly stuck it in the corner. Once again, great precision from Drops, and that's a breakaway. That's well dealt with by Wisty, as much as he could do anyway, but 3 goals, less than a minute left. Is it going to be 4 potentially? Oh, Brad, bad starting position back into the center. Well reacted there. Snip out from the back of the net, but it just feels not so much passive from W7M, but it just get the sinking impression that that quality, it rises and then it falls. They can't sustain this for a series when they're up against some of the very best in the region.
Absolutely, and W7M, they certainly approach most of their series with a similar sort of defensive nature, but I think so far it's just not doing them any favours as Crew are just continually getting these disruptive attacks, those blocks in the midfield. They are so well positioned to deal with any sort of counter-attack that W7M tries to forge as that shot's over the bar as well, just to add to the misery of W7M at the moment.
Arguably, okay, yeah. We were almost talking about a buzzer beater. Now I can continue with my point unabated. Arguably the most satisfying performance for Crew Esports here in game number 4. Clean sheet, 3 goals scored. W7M, did they really have a clear-cut chance? Maybe a couple, but look at Royales. A miserable, a paltry 58 points. That is an exclusion from the game, Psycho.
Yeah, and sadly it's as simple as that. I could also see on the stat cards that there were 5 demos his direction as well, and just from knowing Royales' playstyle a little bit more in depth, courtesy of the Sam games that I've managed to catch, mainly as part of the Godspeed games themselves.
Oh, lovely, the plug.
Yeah, lovely plug, that was smooth, wasn't it? And I've got to say, he is that player which does get a bit more aggressive when the going gets tough. He's that forward-thinking player that tries to develop those plays, and it's telling of the struggle of W7M at the moment. They are so desperate to forge those plays, and maybe in doing so, isolating their own side as well.
They really need an early goal. They really need an early goal in this next game. Otherwise, that sinking feeling might be turning into a bit of a Titanic feeling. For Crew, though, we've got to sing their praises. We've got to credit them as much as we can say, what is W7M doing wrong? They're doing so much right, and Psycho Drops, continuing that great form. I don't think he's getting as many assists per game as we were seeing in the group stage and in the close qualifiers, but he's certainly getting more goals. Almost got one in terms of assists there through Jaffinio's shot off the woodwork. The Royales here winning a nice challenge and at least buys a little bit of pressure from his teammates.
And Brad, back forwards, does find space central.
Oh!
That's a lovely bump from Jaffinio as well. And W7M, we talked about how they need that early goal, but the response wasn't found. And straight on the counter is the deafening blow of Jaffinio.
It's criminal, it's a stab. It's not even a stab in the back, is it? It's a full whack in the back with a baseball bat. Hold on, it's a Super Bowl today, isn't it? Never mind! Different sport, we'll find another way to work it in, folks. W7M, though, the only sport that they need right now is a bit of cheerleading. They need a bit more support from their fans. Let's see you in chat. If you are there, of course, I imagine there's a number of Crew fans who will be quite happy to shout them down. They are delighted. They are 4 minutes away from the grand finals.
Absolutely, and this ball is pinched high. It's actually gone in favour of Crew once again, as on the retreat, waving the white flag. Is W7M a crucial save? Royales once again lunging for that demo, that bump downfield to disrupt this Crew side, but still they live on.
Around the corner. Again, buying time. Again, buying critical W7M boost reserves as they try and deflect and counterattack on their own. Royales straight towards net. It will register as a shot. It was easily saved. Drops. And Snip, he's got support here from Jaffinio. Ends up falling neutral. Oh, but there's a shot towards net. Royales deals with it. 30 boost. Players surrounding him. Doesn't quite know what to do. Gets his pocket picked. That's a shot towards net. Well reacted from Snip.
Well reacted, but they need a response as Wisty has to do it all by himself as another shot is forged. Royales with a booming touch downfield. Jaffinio once again finding a teammate in the midfield, that time blocked away. That is such a sublime finish as well, but Snip just diving across his back lines has that one covered.
Living on a prayer, W7M, but it feels like there has been no one answering their calls as of yet, at least not on the regular. The phone line has been cut. Oh, and it was almost potentially a game-ending performance here from Crew. The second goal might just put W7M to bed. Drops going sideways again, just looking to enable his teammates to move back into a defensive structure that has survived most of the time against this W7M offensive. That's a shot, but it's straight towards a player. Too little time spent actually going for it, and way too much time spent thinking about it.
Absolutely so, in W7M, these attacks potentially getting less creative as the seconds tick on. You can see that sort of desperation, that hunger from W7M. It's done them well once, but they need to do it more than that, as another shot is ripped through. Royale is on the counter.
Oh, open
a
net.
Strike forwards, and maybe that third player has just overextended his back lines, but not quite.
First sign of a little bit of creaking in the Crew floorboards. No way through yet for W7M. The breakthrough goal all the more important as the time keeps ticking down. Less than 2 minutes to find. No halftime show here, of course. Is it going to be touchdown for Crew in the ground finals? Or are W7M able to extend the drive? Forward they come once again. Their campaign unsuccessful on this occasion. In field, and no third player, lacking the confidence to put the sword into the throat.
Yeah, and at the moment, W7M still is trying to take every preventative measure they can to see away those threats, and finally a bit of success is found by Royales. Oh, this ball lifted high, and there was that cheeky little double commit from Crew once again, but still nothing to really threaten their integrity as a side.
1 minute left, and that integrity remains intact, but W7M has certainly gotten better as the game goes on. Too easily read here from Brad. Picking up that midfield boost, again just limiting the utility, the tools with which W7M can work. Still on the back foot, still waiting for that overcommitment, it seems, from Crew. They've got men up in numbers, it's too easily dealt with. Here's Wisty, hard shot against the backboard. Again, well read, easily dealt with. Snip finally wins the race, but again, Crew sitting pretty with those three players. There it is, the counter-attack. Up and away it goes. Brad goes central. He's going to lose out here. W7M Esports with a little bit more possession and with a little bit more in the goal department. Drafinio with a double tap, and W7M surely sent home now.
Surely so, and Crew have finally, after what has been a very interesting tale of W7M and their resurgence time and time again, have maybe finally bested their foe on this occasion. Crew, surely, as you say, are going to be the side to push it to that grand finals, as W7M just clawing with one last remaining hope. Potentially an early goal could spawn a kickoff thereafter, but unfortunately it's simply not meant to be as these seconds tick down.
It's tragic, but all good stories seem to be tragedies these days, and as much as people wanted to believe in W7M, you just got that impression from that overtime kick in the teeth in game number one. This series was always going to be Crew's. A real spark of life, of course, in game number 3, Psycho, but they just couldn't sustain it.
Yeah, unfortunately so. They were just outmatched by the opposition on the day, and I think there is just something magical about Crew in terms of when they are firing on all cylinders. You can see that, you can sense the confidence that emerges from this side, and they are titans of the region for a reason. Crew, of course, going undefeated so far in their run. They've only dropped a single game so far this entire Winter Cup, and who wouldn't favour them potentially in the finals as well as a result?
They look good. They look really good. W7M as well. I think surely they've put together enough RLCS points to consider them a top 8 team going forward. But now we're going to be finding another one of the top 2 teams for this Winter Cup. On the other side of the bracket, Jar of Jam and Maxfish, they're going to be covering a grand final rematch from the Winter Open. Team Secret, is it going to be consecutive grand finals appearances for Exceed? Is it going to be consecutive grand final appearances? Well, we're going to find out the answer to that question after this.